Day 2, we're going to go over rounding, properties, estimation and addition, and subtraction, and as well as have classwork and homework problems that we're going to do together. So first, we're going to take a look at rounding. To round a whole number or decimal to a given place, we need to start by underlining the place that needs to be rounded to. If the digit to the right is 5 or more, we add 1 to the underlined digit. If the digit to the right is less than 5, then we leave the underlined digit unchanged. For whole numbers, we replace all the digits to the right of the underlined digit with zeros, and all the numbers to the left remain unchanged. All right, this brings us to our first example. Number 1, we need to round 837,654 to the nearest 10,000. So our 10,000 place would be this 3. And now we look at the number right after it. So we're looking at 7. Since 7 is more than 5, we round up. So we change this to 840,000, and then everything after becomes the 0. For number 2, we're rounding to the nearest tenth first. So for part A, our tenth would be this 1 right here. So we would look at 4. Since 4 is less than 5, it stays the same. So we have 3.1 when rounding to the nearest tenth. Next, we're going to round to the nearest thousandth. So our thousandth point would be the third one after the decimal, so the next one. And then we look at the 5. Since we have a 5, we round up. So everything to the left stays the same. So we have 3.14, and we're rounding the 1 up to a 2. All right, we have some more examples here. The U.S. population reported from the 2000 census was 281,421,906. We need to round the population to the nearest. We'll start by rounding it to the nearest 100 million. So 100 million would be, we're looking at this 2. And to tell where we round it, we look at the number to the right of it. Since 8 is more than 5, we're going to round up. So this becomes 300 million. For B, we need to round it to the nearest 10 million. So we're looking at the 1. Since 1 is less than 5, we leave it the same. So this would be 280 million. Then we change everything to zeros. Next, we're looking at the millions place. So this 4 tells us which way to round it. Since 4 is less than 5, everything to the left stays the same. So we have 281 million, and then we change everything after to zeros. For part D, we're rounding it to the nearest 100,000. So we're looking at this 4, and the 2 tells us which way to round it. So since 2 is less than 5, we keep it the same. So we have 281,400,000. We change everything after to zeros. And then lastly, we are rounding it to the nearest thousands place. So we're looking at this 1, and the 9 tells us how we need to round it. So since 9 is greater than 5, we're rounding up. So this is 281,422,000. So that 1 rounds up to a 2, and then everything after becomes a 0. We're going to skip number 14. Okay, this brings us to our addition and multiplication properties. So first we have the commutative property, and this property, the only thing that changes is the order. So when our order changes, the sum of the two numbers doesn't change. So we can add 9 plus 5 or 5 plus 9 and we'd get the same answer. So our order changes. And same thing with multiplication. We can multiply 8 times 6 and it's the same thing as saying 6 times 8. Next we have the associative property. So our parentheses are changing, and again, the sum or the product does not change here. So the only thing that's changing are the parentheses. Next, we have the identity property. So in the identity property, we can add 0 or multiply 1, and our number remains the same. So when we add 0, it's staying the same, and when we multiply by 1, it stays the same. And then we have our 0 property. So this is when we multiply times 0 and we get 0 as our answer. So anything multiplied times 0 is going to equal 0. And then lastly, we have our distributive property. So when you distribute multiplication over addition or subtraction, the result is the same whether you multiply first and then add or subtract, or if you add and then multiply. So our distributive property is just distributing some number to x plus y. So we would multiply that number times x, and then we multiply it times y. Okay, this brings us to some examples. So we need to find the missing number and name the property used. So first we have something plus 37 is equal to 37. So we know that if we add 0 to 37, our outcome would be the same, 37. And this would be our identity property. And then for part B, we have 4 times some number times 8 is equal to 4 times 9 times 8. So here the only thing missing is that number 9. And again, it doesn't matter where we put the parentheses. So here our parentheses are around 4 times 9, and then on the right side, the parentheses are around 9 times 8. And this is our associative property. So all the numbers stay the same, but the only thing changing is the parentheses. For number 2, the seats in the theater are divided into 2 sections. Section A has 15 rows of seats and section B has 13 rows. There are 10 seats in each row. How many seats are in the theater? What property is illustrated? So here we could write this 2 different ways. We can say that 10 times 15 plus 10 times 13 is equal to our number of rows, or we could say that 10 times 15 plus 13 is equal to our number of rows. So if we do the second way, we can just distribute, and we get 10 times 15, which is 150, plus 10 times 13, which is 130. So our total number of rows would be 280. And we'd get the same thing if we did it this way too. And this is our distributive property. So since we were distributing here, it is our distributive property. Number 6, when a number is added to 0, the sum is 0. This is false, because the sum would be whatever that number is. 7, 0 multiplied by a number greater than 0 is 0. This is true. 0 multiplied times anything is 0. Number 8, we have 5 minus 3 is equal to 3 minus 5. 5 minus 3 would be 2. 3 minus 5 would be negative 2, so these are not the same, so this would be false. Number 9, any number divided by 0 is that number. We cannot divide by 0, so this would be false. Any number divided by 1 would be that number, so if this was a 1, that would make it true. If the product of 2 numbers is 0, at least one of the numbers must be 0. This would be true. The product means we're multiplying, so if we multiply any number times 0, our answer would be 0, so one of the numbers has to be 0. For problems 11 through 15, find the missing number that makes each sentence true. Name the property shown. So here we have 32 times 57 is equal to, this would have to be 57 times 32. And this one, since our order is changing, it would be the commutative property. So I'm just going to abbreviate. For 12, we have 79 times 0 is equal to, this would be 0, and this is our 0 property. 13, 21 times 8 times 14 is equal to, this again here would be 21, since that's our number that's missing, and the only thing changing is our parentheses, which means that this is the associative property. 14, we have 5 times 76 is equal to 5 times 70 plus 5 times 6, and this would be our distributive property. And then 15, 83 times what is equal to 83? 83 times 1 would be equal to 83, and this is the identity property. And at 16, we need to find each product by distributing multiplication. So for part A, we need to find what 4 times 63 is. So what we can do is break up our 63 into 60 and 3. So we would have 4 times 60 plus 3. And now to solve this, we would need to distribute our 4 to both the 60 and the 3. So we would have 4 times 60 plus 4 times 3. 4 times 60 would be 240, and 4 times 3 would be 12, so 240 plus 12 would be 252. And then for part B, we have 10 times 98. We could break the 98 up into 90 plus 8, and then we just distribute our 10 to 90 and to 8. So we have 10 times 90 plus 10 times 8. 10 times 90 is 900, plus 10 times 8 is 80. So this would be 980. For our next section, we have estimation and addition. Here we're going to focus on the adding and subtracting. Sometimes it's easier to estimate first before we add or subtract really big numbers. But when we are adding and subtracting numbers, we need to make sure the numbers are lined up by their place value. So an easy way to add big numbers would be to arrange the numbers in columns by the place value. So let's look at our first example. We need to find the sum of 2,468, 279, and 23. So what we would do first we need to line up the numbers by their place value. So we need all the ones places in the same column, all the tens places in the same column. And then we just add the columns together. So adding our first column, we have 8 plus 9 plus 3, which would be 20. So we put the 0 there and the 2 up top. Then we add 6 plus 7 plus 2 plus 2, which would be 17. Then we would add 4 plus 2 plus the 1 on top, so this would be 7. And then we would just add 2. So we have 2,770. That's our answer. So if we were to round first to get an estimated answer, our answer would be kind of close to if we were to just add them all up without rounding, but it wouldn't be exact, it would be estimated. So now looking at number 2, we need to find the sum of 2.43 plus 36 plus 13.8 plus 0.003. So what we need to do first is to line them all up. So we're going to write our numbers in a column. So we have 2.43, we have 36, 13.8, and I'm missing one, which was 0.003. Okay, so now all of our decimals need to be in line, and then I'm going to fill in zeros here as placeholders just so I know that nothing else is there. So we are going to add all of these up. We start by adding the columns. So we have 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 3, which is just 3. Next we have 3 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, which is 3. 4 plus 0 plus 8 plus 0, which is 12, so I'm going to put a 2. Drop our decimal, because that decimal has to stay in line, and bring a 1 up to the top. So I have 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 3, which is 12. And bring a 1 to the top, and then I have 3 plus 1 plus 1, which is 5. So our final answer is 52.233. Okay, for 11 through 14, we need to place a decimal point in each addend to make the sentence true. So looking at number 11, our decimal point couldn't go there because then that would make this number 60, and 60 is bigger than 7. So we could put our decimal point right there, and then again, we wouldn't be able to put it there because that would make the number 18, and 18 is also bigger than 7. So we could put it right there. So we'd have 6.027 plus 1.845, which would be equal to 7.872. For 12, we're going to do the same thing. So 36 would be too big, so I'm going to add the decimal there, so now I have 3.649. Again, 55 would be too big, so I'm going to put our decimal in between the two 5s, so I have 5.591. And then, so I have a 3 that we're adding and 5, so our next number is going to have to be kind of big to get it to equal to 25, so I'm going to put it right there, so we have 16.21. So if we added 3.649 plus 16.21 plus 5.591, we would get 25.45. For 13, we need our numbers to add up to 73. So 78 would be too big, so I'm going to start by putting our decimal in between the 7 and 8, so I have 7.836. Next, I could use 54 because we need to get it to add to 73. So I'm going to put our decimal there, and then we could use an 11 too. So I'm going to put the decimal there. So if we added up 7.863 plus 54.09 plus 11.45, we would get 73.403. And then our last one, we need our numbers to add up to 65. Looking at 59 or 5904, 59 would be probably too big, so I'm going to put our decimal there. So we have 5.904. Next, I'm going to look at the 2431. We need a number that's kind of big because we want our number to add up to 65, so I'm going to try putting it in between the 4 and 3. Next, I'm going to look at the 3366. I could use the 33, so I'm going to put our decimal there. Now if I added up 24 plus 33 plus 5, it's awfully close to 65, so I'm going to put our decimal here because I could use a 1.3. So then if I were to add up 24.31 plus 1.358 plus 33.66 plus 5.904, I would get 65.23. This section is really just like a guess and check, and the important part here is that you guys know how to add. So this brings us to estimation and subtraction. So again, we're going to do the same thing that we did before with addition. We need to start by arranging our numbers in columns by place value. So looking at our first example, we need to subtract 359 from 7,549. So we start by lining up our two numbers. If our number on top is smaller when we're subtracting, we're going to need to borrow some from the number before. So we can't subtract 9 from 7. So we would need to change this to a 17. And since we borrowed 10 from the number before, this becomes a 3. And here, our 3 is smaller than the 5, so we would need to borrow more from the number before. So this becomes a 4, and this one becomes a 13. So now we can start subtracting. We have 17 minus 9, which is 8, 13 minus 5, which is 8, 4 minus 3, which is 1, and 7 minus 0, which is 7. So this would be our answer here. Next, for number 2, we need to subtract again. So we need to line up our numbers so that the decimal places are all in a line. Since our top number, 6.314, goes to the thousandths place, we need to make our bottom number go to the thousandths place, so we would write a 0. Again, here we can subtract 4 minus 0, which is just 4, but we can't do 1 minus 9, so we need to make this an 11, which this now becomes a 2. So 11 minus 9 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. We drop down our decimal to make it in the same line, and then we do 6 minus 1, which is 5. We can always check our work to see if we did it right by adding what our answer is to what we subtracted. So here we added these two numbers together, and we got our original answer. So we can always check our work by adding our answer and what we subtracted. Number 3, Peter spent $16.83 at the bookstore and $7.91 at the drugstore. How much money does he have left from $50? So we would need to add the two costs together, so the $16.83 and the $7.91 together, and then subtract that from the $50 to find out how much change he had. So here, when subtracting, the 0 is smaller than the 4, so we would need to make this a 10. That would make this one a 9, and this number becomes a 9 also, and this one becomes a 4. So now we have 4 minus 10, which is 6, 9 minus 7, which is 2, 9 minus 4 is 5, and 4 minus 2 is 2. And again, we can check our work by adding our answer and what we subtracted together, and we would get $50 here. So here we have some examples. We need to find the missing add-ins. So what we're going to do is add these together and then subtract it from our total. So looking at 11, I'm going to write it on the side here. We have 467 plus 328. So we're going to add these two together. 7 plus 8 is 15. 6 plus 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And 4 plus 3 is 7. So we get 795, and we're going to subtract that from our 1003. But I need to make sure our numbers are in line. So we have 795 there. So 3 is smaller. We can't subtract 5 from 3, so we need to make this a 13. So we had to borrow from there, which becomes a 9. This one becomes a 9, and this one becomes 0. So 13 minus 5 is 8. 9 minus 9 is 0, and 9 minus 7 is 2. So our answer for number 11 is 208. Next, for number 12, we need to do the same thing. So we're going to add up our three numbers, which are 1,792 plus 2,815 plus 694. And you need to make sure numbers are in line. So we're going to add up our first column. So 2 plus 5 plus 4 is 11. 1 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9 is 20. 7 plus 8 plus 6. 7 plus 8 is 15. Plus 6 is 21. Plus 2 is 23. And then 2 plus 1 plus 2 is 5. So I have 5,301 that I'm subtracting now from 7,602. So we're going to subtract. This is 5,301. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 minus 0, 0. 6 minus 3, 3. And 7 minus 5 is 2. So our answer here is 2,301. Next, for 13, we need to add 1.06 and 0.582. I'm going to add a 0 to the end of our first number just so our numbers will all line up. And we need to make sure our decimals are in a line as well. So we're going to add the first column. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 6 plus 8 is 14. 0 plus 5 plus 1 is 6. We need to bring our decimal down. And 1 plus 0 is 1. And now we need to subtract this from 4.2. So 4.2 minus 1.642. Now I just need to add 2 zeros there so everything is in line. So 0 minus 2, we can't do that. So we need to make this a 10. So we're borrowing from here, and this one becomes a 9, and this becomes a 1. The 1 is smaller than 6, so we're going to need to borrow again from here, so this one becomes a 3. And now we subtract. So we have 10 minus 2, which is 8. 9 minus 4 is 5. 11 minus 6 is 5. And 3 minus 1 is 2. And we drop our decimals so they're all in line. So this is our answer for number 13. Next, we have 14. So we need to add 0.985 plus 13.4. I'm going to add 2 zeros so it has a value for every place. And 5.760. So now we add our columns up. We have 5 plus 0 plus 0, which is 5. 8 plus 0 plus 6, which is 14. 9 plus 4 plus 7 would be 21. So we write our 1 down there and our 2 goes up top. Bring our decimals, so all of our decimals are in line. Then we have 2 plus 0 plus 3 plus 5, which would be 10. and 1 plus 1, which is 2. And now we need to subtract this from 21.02. 21.02 minus 20.145. We need to add a 0 there, so we have a number for every place. And we subtract. So 0 is less than 5, so this we need to make a 10. Borrowing from here, so this one becomes a 1. We need to borrow from here, so this one becomes a 9 in order to make this an 11. And this becomes 0. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 11 minus 4 is 7. 9 minus 1 is 8. 0 minus 0 is 0, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So we have 0.875 as our answer. For 15, Linda bought some ground beef for $3.66, rolls for $1.59, and a container of juice for $2.87. How much change did she receive from a $10 bill? So we need to add all of these up and then subtract it from $10. So for 15, we are adding up $3.66, $1.59, and $2.87. So we add up our columns. 6 plus 9 plus 7 is 22. 6 plus 5 plus 8 plus 2 would be 21. Drop our decimal down, so now we have 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2, so this becomes 8. So we have $8.12. So now we need to take 10 and subtract $8.12. So since 0 is less than 2, we need to make this on a 10. This becomes a 9, this becomes a 9, that becomes 0. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 1 is 8. Drop our decimal down so it's in line. 9 minus 8 is 1. So the change we're getting back would be $1.88. Okay, last one, we have number 16. The table shows the populations of 2 cities in 1990 and 2000. Which city had the greater population increase and how much greater? So to find the population increase, we're going to have to subtract our population from 2000 from the population that is in 1990 for both Thornton and Sheffield. So starting with Thornton, we have 140,692. We're going to subtract 122,851. So this one here is Thornton. So since 2 is smaller than 4, we need to make this a 12 by taking 10 from here, so this becomes an 8. So 12 minus 4 is 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. We need to make this a 16. This becomes a 9, and this becomes a 3. So 16 minus 8 is 8. 9 minus 2 is 7. 3 minus 2 is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So our population increases 17,838, and now we need to do the same for Sheffield. So we're going to subtract 147,305 minus 130,076. So 5 is smaller than 6, so we need to make this 15. This one becomes a 9, and this becomes a 2. 15 minus 6 is 9. 9 minus 7 is 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. 7 minus 0 is 7. 4 minus 3 is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So 17,229. So that would make Thornton have the greater increase. So the greater population increase would be Thornton. Now we need to see how much greater. So we would subtract our two population increases to find out how much greater the increase is. So we have 17,838 minus 17,229. Need to make this one an 18. This becomes 2. So 18 minus 9 is 9. 2 minus 2, 0. 8 minus 2, 6. 7 minus 7 is 0. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So our population increase is the difference between the two population increases is 609. Okay, so our practice now for number 1. In 2000, the Sun Foods Company had total sales of 57,468,000. Round to the nearest million total sales. So nearest million would be this decimal place, this place. And then we're looking at the 4 to tell us which way to round. Since 4 is less than 5, the number stays the same. So we have 57 million, and we fill everything else in with zeros. So $57 million. The area of New York State is 54,471 square miles. Round the area to the nearest 100 square miles. So our 100 would be this place, and we're looking at the 7. So since 7 is greater than 5, we round up. So this, everything to the left stays the same, so we have 54,000, and the 4 becomes a 5. So we have 54,500 square miles. Number 3, to the nearest 100, which number does not round to 6,000? So A would round to 6,000. We're looking at the nearest 100 place, so this place here. B rounds to 6,000. C, the 4 would make the 9 stay the same, so this would be 5,900, so our answer would be C. For 4, we need to round this number to the nearest 100,000, so 100,000 would be this place. The 2 would make it stay the same since it's less than 5, so we have 2,200,000, and everything else becomes 0. Number 5, round to the nearest 10 is, so nearest 10 would be this number here. The 8 makes this round up, so we would round this to 40,000. Number 6, Mrs. Chang spent $143.78 on groceries. Round her bill to the nearest $10. So $10 would be right here. Looking at the 3, this stays the same. So her bill rounded to the nearest $10 would be $140.00. Number 7, the length of a hiking trail is 26.184 kilometers. Round the length to the nearest tenth of a kilometer. So our tenth would be this place, and our 8 would make this round up. So we have 26.200. A calculator displayed a player's batting average as .250859. Round the batting average to the nearest 1,000. So 1,000th would be, this would be our 10th, 100th, 1,000th. So we're looking at this 0. Our 8 tells us that we need to round up, So we would round this to 0.251. Number 9, rounded to the nearest 1 is, so looking here, our nearest 1, our 5 would tell us that we round up, so this would be 1.000. Number 10, rounded to the nearest hundredth, so we would have our tenth and hundredth place, so we're looking at this 9. The 4 tells us that it stays the same, so we have 376.29. When rounded to the nearest tenth, which number will not be 0.8? So rounding to the nearest tenth tells us we're looking at the first place after the decimal. So this would round to 0.8, B would round to 0.8, C would round to 0.8, D would have to stay at 0.7, so our answer is D. 12. At the hardware store, Mark bought items costing $6.35, $8.95, $3.17, and $4.49. To estimate his total, Mark rounded each amount to the nearest dollar and added. What is his estimate? So, rounding to the nearest dollar, this would be $6, this would be $9, this would be $3, and this one would be 4. So we just add 6 plus 9 plus 3 plus 4. 6 plus 9 is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. And 18 plus 4 is 22. So his estimate would be $22. Okay, more practice. Number 1, which sentence illustrates the commutative property of addition? So we said commutative property is when the order changes. So the only one where the order changes would be C. We could add 14 plus 5 and 5 plus 14 and get the same thing. Number 2, if 87 times n is equal to 0, the value of n is 0. Number 3, 5 times 29 is equal to, so this would be our distributive property. So it would be D 5 times 20 plus 5 times 9. Number 4, which number makes the sentence true? So you have 13 times 6 times what is equal to 13 times 6 times 17. So to make this true, we would need to fill our question mark in with 17. Number 5, the sentence 0 times 41 is equal to 0 illustrates which property? This would be our 0 property of multiplication. For number 1, to estimate 3,418 plus 4,576 plus 1,861 plus 920 is, so we would round all of these. This one we could round to 3,000. This one we could round to 5,000. This one we could round to 2,000. And this one we would round to 1,000. So our best estimate would be B. Number 2, Susan went to the store and bought items costing $3.39, $2.68, $1.29, 82 cents, and $6.79. She estimated the total by rounding each price to the nearest dollar and adding. Which group of numbers did she add? So this we would round to $3. So J starts with 4, so we can cross that one off right away. Next one we would add to $3. So we can cross off F. The next amount we would round it to $1. So we have $3, $3, and $1, so this would be H. Number 3, find the sum of 319 plus 7 plus 610 plus 2,305. So to add these all up, we're going to line them up together. So we have 319, 7, 610, and 2,305. Now we add. So 9 plus 7 plus 5 is 21. Next we have 1 plus 0 plus 2 would be 4. And we have 3 plus 6 plus 3 would be 12. And then 1 plus 2, which is 3. So 3,241 is our answer. Number 4, in May, Mr. Cooch's airline mileage statement showed the following. What was his total mileage? So we need to add all of these up. So we're going to line them all up. We have 1,525, 1,401, and 2,886. Starting with the first column, 5 plus 1 plus 6 is 12. 2 plus 0 plus 8 plus 1 would be 11. 5 plus 4 plus 8 plus 1 would be 18. And 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 would be 5. So we have 5,812. Number 5, find the sum of the numbers below. So we need to line them all up and add them. So we have 826.95 plus 1,439.14 plus 29.20. We're adding. So starting with our column all the way to the right, 5 plus 4 plus 0 is 9. Next we have 9 plus 1 plus 2, which is 12. And we need to bring our decimal in line there. So now we have 6 plus 9 plus 9 plus 1, which would be 25. Now we have 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2, which would be 9. And then 8 plus 4 is 12, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So our final answer is 2,295.29. All right, number 6, find the sum of the numbers below. So again, we need to line them all up and add them. So we have 4.6 and then 62.34 and 0.293. Now I'm going to add zeros here for our placeholders. So here we have 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 plus 4 plus 9 is 13. 1 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2 is 12. 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 0 is 7. We need to drop our decimal down, and then 7. And then we have 6 plus 0 is 6. So our answer here is 67.233. Next, for number 7, we need to find the sum of the numbers below. So again, we're adding. So we need to line them all up. 13.2. Next, we have 0.132. And last, we have 0.00132. So I'm going to add zeros here for placeholders. And we are adding. So 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. And we have 0 plus 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 plus 2 plus 1 is 3, 0 plus 3 plus 0 is 3, and 2 plus 1 plus 0 is 3. We need to drop our decimal down in line, and we have 3 plus 0 plus 0, which is 3, and then 1 there. So our answer is 13.33332. Number 8, Vicky walked 3.1 kilometers on Monday, 4.86 kilometers on Tuesday, and 4.25 kilometers on Wednesday. Find the total distance she walked. So we need to add them all up together. So we have 3.1. Next we have 4.86. And then 4.25. I'm going to put a 0 there. So 0 plus 6 plus 5 is 11. 1 plus 8 plus 2 plus 1 would be 12. We need to bring our decimal in line. Now we have 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4, which would be 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 1 is 12. So 12.21. Number 9, the sum closest to 26.53 plus 8.29 is, okay, so let's add these two together. So we have 26.53 and 8.29. So 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 5 plus 2 is 8. Bring our decimal down. 6 plus 8 is 14. And 1 plus 2 is 3. So this answer would be closest to 34.8. For number 10, Ralph and Calvin worked part-time at the department store. Last week, Ralph earned $97.85. Calvin earned $28.55 more than Ralph did. The best estimate of how much Calvin earned is, so we need to add these two together. So I'm going to round Ralph's amount to 97.0, and I'm going to round Calvin's amount to 20. Actually, I'm going to round this up if I'm going to round it to the nearest whole dollar. So we have 98, and then we would round up Calvin's amount to 29. So we have 8 plus 9, which is 7, and 9 plus 2 plus 1 is 12. So our total would be 127. Number 1, when two numbers are added, their sum is 1,513. If the first number is 998, what is the second number? So here we need to subtract to find our second number. So we have 1,513 minus 998. Since 3 is smaller than 8, we need to make a 13. That would make this one a 0. We need to borrow again from 5, which would make this a 4. This one becomes a 10. And then we would need to borrow from this one to make this a 14. So we have 13 minus 8, which is 5. Next, we have 10 minus 9, which is 1. 14 minus 9, which is 5. So our answer is 515. If we wanted to check our work, we could always add our answer with what we subtracted from, and we would get the original. So we could always check our work to see if we did it right that way. Number 2, the difference between 128,148 and 58,668 is, so to find the difference we need to subtract. So we have 128,148 minus 58,668. So to subtract, 8 minus 8 is 0. We can't do 4 minus 6, so we need to make this a 14 by borrowing from there. We would need to borrow from here as well to make this one 10 and 7. This has to become 1 and 17, and then this one becomes an 11. So now we have 14 minus 6, which is 8, 10 minus 6, which is 4, 17 minus 8, which is 9, and 11 minus 5, which is 6. So we have 69,480 as our answer. Number 3, which expression gives the closest estimate for 5,609 minus 2,894? So our closest estimate would be to keep as many decimal places as possible. So we have 5,600 that we can keep. So we can cross these two out, and this one we would round up to 29. So our answer would be A. The area of Cuba is 42,804 square miles. The area of Puerto Rico is 3,339 square miles. How much larger is Cuba than Puerto Rico? So to find the difference, we need to subtract. So we have 42,804 minus 3,339. We can't do 4 minus 9, so we need to make this one a 14. This becomes a 9. So we have 14 minus 9, which is 5. 9 minus 3 is 6. 8 minus 3 is 5. 2 minus 3, can't do that, so we need to make this a 12. This one becomes a 3. 12 minus 3 is 9, and 3 minus 0 is just 3. So 39,565 is our answer. Number 5, the average annual participation in Singapore is 84.6 inches. The average annual precipitation in London, England is 29.7 inches. How many more inches of precipitation does Singapore get than London? So we need to subtract. So we have 84.6 minus 29.7. So here we can't do 6 minus 7, so we need to make this a 16. This becomes 3. We can't do 3 minus 9, so this has to become 13, and that becomes 7. So 16 minus 7 is 9. Drop our decimal down so it's in line. 13 minus 9 is 4, and 7 minus 2 is 5. So 54.9. Answer choice B. Number 6. Haynes, Daines, and Raines ran for mayor. Haynes received 8,316 votes. Daines received 7,495 votes. If 20,000 votes were cast, how many did Raines receive? So we need to add these two up and then subtract it from 20,000. So we have 8,316 plus 7,495. So 6 plus 5 is 11. 1 plus 9 plus 1 is 11. 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 8, and 8 plus 7 is 15. So 15,811 is what we need to subtract from 20. So we have 20,000 minus 15,811. So we can't do 0 minus 1, so we need to make this one a 10, which makes this a 9, this a 9, this a 9, and this one 1. So we have 10 minus 1, which is 9. Now we have 9 minus 1, which is 8, 9 minus 8, which is 1, 9 minus 5, which is 4, and 1 minus 1, which is 0. So 4,189 is our answer. Number 7, Mr. Lung had a balance of $365.57 in his checking account. He wrote a check for $96.80. How much money was left in his account? So to find the amount left, we need to subtract. So we have 365.57 minus 96.80. So here, 7 minus 0 is 7. 5 minus 8, can't do that. So this needs to become 4. This becomes a 4. This one becomes a 5 to make this a 14. And then this has to become a 2 to make this a 15. So 14 minus 8 is 6. Drop our decimal down so it stays in line. 14 minus 6 is 8. 15 minus 9 is 6. And 2 minus 0 is 2. So the amount left in his account was $268.67. Number 8, subtract 0.987 from 2.87. So 2.87 goes on top, and then 0.987 goes on bottom. So this has to become a 0. We can't subtract 0 minus 7, so this has to become a 10. This one becomes a 6. This becomes a 16 and 7. And this becomes a 1 and 17. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 16 minus 8 is 8. 17 minus 9 is 8. Drop our decimal down so it's in line, and 1 minus 0 is 1. So here we have 1.883. How much greater than 37.58 is 51.04? So again, we need to subtract 51.04 minus 37.58. Need to make this 14. This becomes a 9. 1 is smaller than 7, so we need to make this one an 11, and this becomes a 4. So 14 minus 8 is 6, 9 minus 5 is 4, 11 minus 7 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So 14.46 is our answer. Number 10, a sack of flour weighed 22.5 pounds. After the baker used some flour, 14.85 pounds were left. How many pounds of flour did the baker use? So we need to subtract 22.5 minus 14.85. We'll add a 0 there to hold our place. Can't do 0 minus 5, so we need to make this a 10. This becomes a 4. 4 is less than 8, so we need to make this a 14. This becomes a 1. 1 is less than 4, so this has to become an 11, and this becomes a 1. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 14 minus 8 is 6. 11 minus 4, we need to drop our decimal down so it stays in line. 11 minus 4 is 7, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So 7.65 pounds of flour was used. Alright, so this was everything for day 2.